शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Namaskaram all of you. Welcome to the 56th session of our Narayaneeyam Satsangam. As you may recollect, we enjoyed Dasakams 34 and 35 from Narayana Bhattatiri, explaining Ramavataram or Ramayanam in 20 slokams over 7 sessions with the help of Valmiki's Ramayanam. We also utilized Kampan's Ramavataram, Goswami Tulasi's Ramcharitmanas, Arunachala Kavi's Ramanatakam, all the Arvars, Nigamanda Deshikan's works, and several other versions of Ramayana to augment our analysis of the Saptaham we attempted recently. Before we go to Krishnavadara, Bhattatiri's favorite subject, which all of us are aware of, and the very purpose of his Narayaneeyam, let us enjoy Parasurama Avataram. Because with this Dasakam, Bhattatiri puts an end to all other avatarams and all other digressions and starts focusing from the very next Dasakam on Purna Parabrahman Krishna to the end of Narayaneeyam. In order to describe the story of Parasurama, who has been mentioned in the story of Ramayanam, the author narrates the story of Bhagavan's earlier incarnation as sage Dattatreya, who blessed his devotee Kartaviryarjuna with various boons, including promise of his death at his hands, the fulfillment of which was one of the main purposes of the incarnation as Parasurama. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Parasurama is narrated in the 9th canto in chapters 15 and 16. Atre putradaya puratvamanasuyayam hi dattavido jata sishati bandhatandritamanaha swastaccharan kantaya. Atrehe putradaya puratvamanasuyayam hi dattavido jata sishati bandhatandritamanaha swastaccharan kantaya. Drishto bhaktatamena gegayamahipalena tasmai varan अष्टैश्वर्यमुखान् प्रदाय ददित स्वेनैव च अन्ते वदो। अष्टैश्वर्यमुखान् प्रदाय ददित स्वेनैव च अन्ते वदो। अत्रेहे पुत्रतया पुरात्वम् अनसूयायां हि दत्ताभिदो जातः शिष्य निबन्ध तंत्रितमनाः स्वस्तः शरण कान्तया दृष्टो भक्ततमेन हेकय महीपालेन तस्मै वरान् अष्टैश्वर्य मुखान् प्रदाय ददित स्वेनैव च अन्ते वधम्. भगवाने Long ago, you incarnated with the renowned name of Datta or Dattatreya as the son of sage Atri through his wife Anasuya. Sage Atri was Brahma's son and was born from his eyes. You had conferred a boon on sage Atri this way: Datto Mayaham. I am given to you by myself. In other words, you declared, I'll be born as your son. You were named Datta on this account, and being the son of Atri, you are also known as Atreya, son of Atri, and the combined name became Dattatreya and became very famous. Dattatreya was a great accomplished ascetic and a great yogi. Therefore, many approached him to become his disciples and importuned him to impart Atmajnana or self-knowledge. This became kind of intolerable. Datta was afraid that if the time were spent in teaching the disciples, it would not be possible to meditate on the Supreme Spirit. Although Datta is nothing but an incarnation of Brahman, but Brahman and Datta are slightly different after the incarnation occurred. So Datta had to still meditate on the Supreme Brahman to get back to him. Also, the disciples had not reached the natural state of mind required to absorb and assimilate such Brahmajnanam. But it would also not be proper to forsake the students who were serving him with such great devotion. Therefore, Dattatreya disappeared from the hermitage with his wife and wandered deep in the forest, absorbed in the bliss of Atman. While wandering in the woods, O Dattatreya, were met by your own great devotee, Kartavirya, the king of Hegayas. The king served you with utmost devotion. Pleased with Kartavirya's services, O Datta, you bestowed on him all the prominent Ashtasiddhis or 8 psychic powers and 1,000 hands and blessed him, seeking death only from and at your own hands at the wish of Kartavirya. These 8 siddhis that were conferred upon the king were anima, the ability to become smaller than the smallest, reducing one's body to the size of an atom or even becoming invisible. Mahima, the ability to become infinitely large, expanding one's body to an infinite large size. Laghima, the ability to become weightless or lighter than air. Prapti, the ability to instantaneously travel or be anywhere at will. Prakamya, the ability to achieve or realize whatever one desires. Ishitva, the ability to control nature, individuals, organisms, etc. Supremacy over nature and ability to force influence upon anyone is contained with this power. Vashitva, the ability to control all material elements or natural forces. These are the 8 siddhis conferred upon Kartavirya. Kartumada Arjunasya Javaram Tat Shakti Matranatam Varam Tat Shakti Matranatam Brahmadveshi Tadakilam Drupakulam Antum Cha Bhume Param Sanjato Jamadagnito Bhrugukule Tvo Renukayam Hare Ramo Nama Tadatmajeshu Avarajaha Vidroragaha Sammadam Atmajeshu Avarajaha Vidroragaha Sammadam. कर्तुं मद अर्जुनस्य च वरं तत् शक्तिमात्रानदं ब्रह्मद्वेषी तदाखिलं नृपकुलं हन्तुं च भूमेर्बरं सञ्जातो जमदग्नितो भृगुकुले त्वं रेणुकायां हरे रामो नाम तदात्मजेषु अवरजः पित्रोरदाः सम्मदम्. O Bhagavane, हे Hare, eradication of all sorrows of your devotees is in your very nature. As Dattatreya, you had promised Kartavirya his own death by your own hands. Very unusual. As the king was worshipping you with devotion, you thought it improper to kill him at that time. Therefore, you decided to come down to the earth in a new incarnation so that the boon given to him could be properly fulfilled. The new incarnation came handy to destroy all Kshatriyas on earth who had grown enormously inimical to Brahmanas by their haughtiness and arrogance, and who were against the Vedas and the holy rituals prescribed in them. At that time, the might of the ruling class was partly held in check by the powerful Kartavirya, the king of Hekayas, who wanted to maintain a balance and also warned his various descendants and other kings under him about the peril of the arrogance. But it was not easy to control. You therefore took birth as Rama in the lineage of Bhrigu, who was born from the skin of Brahma and who was a great saint. You were born as the last son of sage Jamadagni to his wife Renuka. You delighted your parents and therefore your name Rama was quite appropriate, since the word Rama and the root Ram means to delight. How did Parasurama, with all rajasic qualities of a Kshatriya, namely the warrior race, came to be born in an eminent family of a Brahmana sage? Does it not appear or sound odd? No. Let us see the story. Long ago, King Gadhi, son of Kushanabha of Kushika lineage, had a daughter by name Satyavati. He gave her in marriage to sage Ruchika. From Vishnu were descended in the following order: Brahma, Bhrigu, Chavana, Urva, Ruchika. Ruchika was the father of Jamadagni and grandfather of Parasurama, who came in the lineage of sage Bhrigu. King Gadhi had no other issue. Entreated by his wife as well as his mother-in-law, Ruchika prepared 2 separate oblations, uttering 2 kinds of hymns with the intention of getting distinguished progeny for himself and his father-in-law, appropriate to their respective family traditions. He had invoked by his ascetic power the extraordinary splendor of a Brahmana in one and the invincible prowess of a Kshatriya in the other. He told his wife to take the one invoked with the splendor of Brahmana and give the other to her mother. And then he went away to the forest. At that time, King Gadhi came with his queen to the hermitage of sage Ruchika. Satyavati, with great love and respect, showed her mother both oblations and told them the details. But the selfish queen mother thought that the sage, due to his love for his wife, would have made the oblation for her somewhat special or more special than what she was given. Thinking so, the mother ate what was meant for her daughter, and Satyavati ate that of her mother because that was the one offered by the mother. When the sage returned to the hermitage, he became aware of what had happened. He then told his wife Satyavati, "You have committed a grave blunder. Your son will be a cruel chastiser of foes, and your brother will be one foremost among the knowers of Brahmatva." In Srimad Bhagavatam, it goes like this. Prasaditaha satyavatyama evam bhuriti bhargavaha atatarhi bhavet pautro jamadagnihi tado abhavat. Satyavati, however, pacified Ruchika Muni with peaceful words and requested that her son not be like a fierce Kshatriya. Ruchika Muni replied, then your grandson will be of a Kshatriya spirit. Thus Jamadagni was born as the son of Satyavati. That good lady immediately fell at the sage's feet and implored, let my grandson be so let my son be a brilliant Brahmana. The calmed down sage Ruchika granted her request. Because of the exchange of the oblations, King Gadi got a son Vishwamitra. Kaushika, as from the lineage of Kusha or Kushanaba, who dazzled with the effulgence of a Brahmana, while Jamadagni, son of Satyavati, got a son Rama, who is going to become Parasurama. Labdam Nayaganaha Chaturdashavaya Gandharvaraje Manat Ashaktam Kila Mataram Pradipitu Krodha Akulasya Jnaya Tata Ajnadika Sodaraihi Samamima Chitvata Shantat Pituhu Tesham Jivana Yogamabita Varumata Chate Adadvaran Yogam Jivana Yogamabita Varam Mata Chate Adadvaran Labda Amnaya Ganaha Chaturdasavayaha Gandharva Raje Manak Ashaktam Kila Mataram Pratipituhu Krodha Akula Syagyaya Tata Ajnadika Sodarehi Samamimam Chitvata Shantat Pituhu Tesham Jivana Yogam Apitavaram Matachate Adadwaran. Bhagavane, you who were in the form of Parasurama learnt and understood all the Vedas and their supplementary parts with meaning by the age of 14. One day your mother Renuka went to the Ganga to fetch water. There she happened to see Chitraratha, the king of Gandharvas, sporting with celestial nymphs. She tarried there. In other words, she stayed longer than intended at that place for a while gazing at the sporting Gandharva. Her heart having been seized momentarily by a slight longing for the fellow because he was not only very good looking, but he had so many celestial nymphs surrounding him. Suddenly, Renuka realized her serious folly and that she would not be in time for the sage's sacrificial ritual. With fear of a possible curse from the great sage, she hurried back to the hermitage and placed the pitcher of water before the sage. Just by a very simple look at her, the sage was able to immediately understand that something serious happened. And he was able to realize what had happened through his occult insight. The sage became very furious about the flirtation of her mind, which was tantamount to mental adultery. Considering the gravity of the offense as deserving of capital punishment, the sage ordered his first 3 sons, one after the other, to chop off the head of their mother, who had become defiled by her mental lapse. But none of them obeyed the father. As they were not willing to slay their own mother, it was abhorrent to them. In the end, the sage ordered you, Parasurama, to kill your mother along with the 3 brothers who had flouted his orders. Remember, this is the point where the sage not only ordered Parasurama to kill the mother, but he also said that 3 other sons were useless since they disobeyed him, so they should also be put to death. You, Parasurama, who were aware of your father's power of deep concentration of mind and austerities, carried out his order unhesitatingly. A little later, Sage Jamadagni's rage subsided and he told you to ask for any boon, being immensely pleased with your sense of implicit obedience to him. Immediately, O Parasurama, you prayed for the revival of your dear mother and brothers without any trace of memory of your killing them and for them having no trace of their guilt, either of the fault or for disobeying. By the greatness of that boon, all of them were restored to life, and your mother, delighted with you, also offered you boons because she was also a pious person. Pitra matrumude tamaya gritaviyat deno nijada asramate prattaya adabrugo gira himagira varadya gauri patim labdva tatvarasam tadum tadanuja chedi mahastradikam prapto mitramata akrita vranamonim prapyagama swasramo prapyagama swasramo. Pitra matrumudestava ahrita viyat denoho nijat ashramat prasthaya atabrugoho gira himagira varadya gauri patim labdhva tat parashum tadukta dhanujas chedi mahastadikam prapto mitram ata akrita vrana munim prapyagama swashramam. In order to please your mother Renuka, your father Jamadagni brought the heavenly cow Kamadhenu to his hermitage by chanting divine hymns. As directed by your great-grandfather Bhrigu, you left the hermitage and Kamadhenu for performing tapas at the Himalayas. There you worshipped Bhagavan Shiva, consort of goddess Parvati. Pleased at your devotion, Lord Shiva gave you the divine weapon Parasu, or a battle axe, which we say in Tamil Kodari. The Lord was immensely pleased with you when you killed a demon as ordered by him, and as a result you earned from him several other divine missiles, including that of Brahmastra. While returning to the hermitage, you saved an ascetic boy, Akritavrana, from a lion's attack and secured him as your friend and ally, after which you returned to the hermitage with him. This specific incident, though mentioned by Bhattatiri, is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Akritavrana accompanied Parasurama to Mandira for a 12-year penance and to Mahendra for another course of austerities. Akritavrana helps Parasurama in his Ashwamedha and his penance thereafter. This is also stated in Vishnu Puranam. As per Mahabharatam, Akritavrana was a great sage of erudition and was a disciple of Parasurama. And it is said that Suta Pauranika, who recited first the story of Mahabharata to an assembly of sages in the forest of Naimisa, was a disciple of Akritavrana, according to the 12th skandam of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ageta upagadorjunaha Ageta upagadorjuna suragavi samprata sampatganehi Tvatitra paripujitaha uragato durmantri vaja punaha gamgretum sajivam nyayunta kudiyaya tena virundan muni pranakshepa sarosha gogata jamo chakrena vatsovrita pranakshepa sarosha gogata jamo chakrena vatsovrita chakrena vatsovrita. Aketa upagato Arjunaha Suragavi Samprapta Sampatganaihi Twatpitra Paripujitaha Puragato Durmantri Vacha Punaha Gam Kretum Sachivam Nyayumta Kudiyo Tenapi Rundhan Muni Pranakshepa Sarosha Gohata Chamu Chakrena Vatso Kritaha. Kartavirya's genealogy from Mahavishnu to Brahma, Atri to Chandra, Chandra to Buddha, Pururavas to Ayus, Yayati to Yadu, Sahasrajit to Sadajit, Ekavira, that is Ahaya to Dharma, then Kani, Bhadrasena, Dhanaka, Kritavirya. This finally comes to Kartavirya Arjuna. One day, Kartavirya Arjuna went to the forest for hunting with a huge army. After the hunting expedition, when they were tired and hungry, they found the hermitage of sage Jamadagni. The king went there with the hope of getting at least some fruits and roots. But the king was in for a very big surprise. The sage not only extended hospitality, but feted him, honored lavishly and his huge army with real royal treatment. He offered them huge mansions embellished with jewels, luxurious beddings and seats, divine food, articles and drinks right in the forest itself. The king had thought that the only wealth the sage had was his austerity. Therefore, he wondered how this poor sage living in the middle of a forest could treat him with such luxury unmatched by anyone in the past. On deeper inquiry, the king found that it was made possible because of the greatness of the divine cow, Kamadhenu. With the evil desire of possessing that cow, the king begged the sage, namely your father Jamadagni, in many ways, but had to return to the capital disappointed because the sage bluntly refused. In the capital, the evil counselors advised him, it is the king who has the right for all invaluable things in the country. He can take anything he likes. No one else in the kingdom has any right to anything if the king has put his mind on that. Therefore, Kamadhenu should be brought to the palace even by force. Can't you see that that's what is happening in this country now? If a leader thinks that it is his country and not the country of people, then he starts really pilfering everything, pillaging everything from the common people, putting them down. That is precisely what happened if we go back to the anecdotal references in the Puranas. Influenced by them, the king sent a minister to the sage's hermitage, simply ordering him that you have to bring Kamadhenu by any means, even by giving any number of cows or riches in exchange, no problem. But my order to you, he tells the minister, is Kamadhenu should be here no matter what. Use any upaya that you think is appropriate to procure that Kamadhenu and bring it here. The evil-minded, cruel minister tried to seize Kamadhenu. When sage Jamadagni resisted, the minister killed him. Enraged at this, Kamadhenu created numerous soldiers from a body and they exterminated the entire army of the king who accompanied the minister. However, when the battle was going on, the wicked minister managed to take away the calf of Kamadhenu, while Kamadhenu was really supervising her army, killing the soldiers of the king's army. In the next sloka are described the restoration of Jamadagni's life and the beginning of the battle between Parasurama and Kartavirya Arjuna. In Bhagavatam, this episode is described differently. Bhagavatam says, Kartavirya Arjuna became jealous of sage Jamadagni seeing the greatness of Kamadhenu. He wanted to possess the divine cow. So therefore, the arrogant king straightaway ordered his men to seize the cow no matter what. They took away the screaming cow along with its calf to their capital city of Mahishmati. This is how Bhagavatam explained it, not the way I had explained or detailed it earlier. Shukrochivita tata vakya chalita krodhota sakya sama. Shukrochivita tata vakya chalita क्रोधोदसख्यासमो बिभ्रत्यादमवोदरोपनिहितं चापं कुटारं शरान् आरूढस्तग वागयन्त्रिकरतं माहिष्मतीमाविशल् वाग्भिः वत्सम् अदासु शिक्षिति पतौ सम्प्रास्तुता शङ्करो वाग्भिः वत्समदासु शिक्षिति पतौ सम्प्रास्तुता शङ्करो शुक्रो जीवित तातवाक्य चलित क्रोधोत सख्यासमं बिभ्रद्यात महोदरोपनिहितं चापं कुटारं शरान् आरूढसह वाहयन्त्रिकरतं माहिष्मतीम् आविशन् वाग्भिः वत्सम् अदासु शिक्षितिपतौ सम्प्रास्तुता संघरम्. The above described calamity took place when you were not in the hermitage, O Parasurama. Soon after your return, Sukracharya, the distinguished member of your lineage, brought your father to life with his knowledge of Mrita Sanjeevani. Jamadagni told you all the evil deeds committed by the king of Hekaya. And O Parasurama, you became very furious on hearing about Kartaviryajana's despicable behavior. You meditated on Lord Shiva and as ordered by Athirudra, Maharudra. His attendant Mahodara brought and offered you bow, arrows, battle axe as also a chariot with a charioteer and yoked with excellent horses. Accepting all of these divine weapons and blessings from Maharudra, you ascended the chariot with your friend Akritavrana and drove to Mahishmati. You demanded the return of the calf of Kamadhenu, employing the first three of the four upayas or expedients like Sama, conciliation, Dana, offering of gifts, and Veda, sowing dissension. As the king remained adamant and would not bother, you began to battle with him. पुत्राणामयुतेन सप्तदशभिः च अक्षौहिणोभिः पुत्राणामयुतेन सप्तदशभिश्च अक्षौहिणीभिः महासेनानीभिः अनेकमित्रनिवगैः व्याजुम्बित अयोधनः सद्यत्वत्कुटारबाणविदलन् निःशेषसैन्योत्तरः भीतिप्रद्रुतनट्टसिद्धतनयः त्वाम् आपदति हयः सद्यत्वत्कुटारबाणविदलन् निःशेषसैन्योत्तर भीतिप्रद्रुतनट्टसिद्धतनयः त्वामापदत् हेहयः पुत्राणाम् अयुतेन सप्तदशभिः अक्षौहिणीभिः महासेनानीभिः अनेकमित्रनिवगैः व्याजृम्बित अयोधनः सद्यत्वत्कुटारबाणविदलन् निःशेषसैन्योत्करः भीतिप्रद्रुतनष्टशिष्टतनयः त्वाम् आपतत् हेहयः. Kartaviryajana waged fierce battle with the help of his 10,000 sons. His army of 17 Akshauhinis. As most of you may be aware, an Akshauhini consists of 21,870 chariots, equal number of elephants, 65,610 horses, and 109,350 foot soldiers as a single unit. Like that, there were 17 such units fighting along with Kartaviryajana and his 10,000 sons. Expert commanders and his numerous friends were also part of the mix. But within a very short time, you destroyed his entire army single-handedly by splitting open their chests with arrows and spears, you on one side and nearly 1 million people on the other side. as armies with chariots and elephants and horses. Some of the sons of Kartavirya saved themselves by running away from the battlefield. Some others, following the tradition of Kshatriyas, fought valiantly even though they knew they were going to be killed, and they got killed. In the end, Kartavirya had to face you with the remaining few sons. Bhattatiri uses a special sloka, the next sloka, only to describe the killing of Kartavirya. Lila Bharita Narmada Jalavalate Lankesha Garvavaha Shrimad Bhagu Sagashra Mukta Bhagushastratram Shrimad Bhagu Sagashra Mukta Bhagushastratram Nirudannamum Chakre Tvayata Vaishnave Vivifale Udvagarim Tvam Muda Dhyayantam Chita Sarvadoshamavadi Dhyayantam Chita Sarvadoshamavadi Sogat Parante Param Parante Param Leela Varita Narmada Jalabalat Lankesha Garbhapahav Shrimad Bahu Sagashra Mukta Bahushastratram Nirundanamum Chakre Tvayata Vaishnavebi Vifale Budva Harim Tvam Muda Dhyayantam Chita Sarvadosham Avadihi Sogat Paramte Padam. Bhattatiri refers in this sloka to an incident to bring out the size and strength of Kartavirya. He was in the habit of impounding the waters of Narmada using his 1,000 hands just for the sake of fun, while sporting in the river with many of the damsels and his entourage. Once it so happened that when Kartavirya had impounded the waters, Ravana, the king of Lanka, was engaged in the worship of Bhagavan Shiva on a rock downstream. Kartavirya came to know of this and took away his hands, releasing the impounded waters suddenly. The river gushed downstream with such great force that it swept away the entire current. He managed to reach the bank after considerable difficulty. Immediately, the furious Ravana started fighting with Kartavirya. With very great ease, the king of Hekayas, namely Kartavirya, caught Ravana in the presence of all his women folk and simply imprisoned him. Thus, the pride of the Rakshasa king was destroyed by the powerful arms of Kartavirya. With the same 1,000 hands, Kartavirya sent innumerable arrows and missiles towards you. But you destroyed these in the sky itself before they reached you by sending counter missiles and arrows. At the end, when Kartavirya found that even the divine Vaishnava discussed, namely Sudarshana, was of no use against you, he understood that you were Sakshat Hari himself, who had come in the form of Parasurama to finish him in accordance with the original boon given to him by sage Dattatreya. Kartavirya, instead of getting angry or enraged, he was filled with ecstasy at this realization. And on this account, started praising you from head to foot. Keshadi Pada Varnanam. He was purified of all his sins and became eligible for emancipation at your hands as he was promised earlier. Having cut off all his hands and thereby removing all his flaws, you made Kartavirya eligible for salvation with a very pure mind. And then you finished him. Thus, Kartavirya was fortunate enough to get killed by your own divine hands, and consequently, he attained the most noble abode of yours, namely the Vaikuntha Loka. The next is Parasurama's extermination of the Kshatriya race, as described by Bhattatiri. Bhuyo marshida hegayatma jaganei tate gate renugam agnanam hridayam niriksha baguso puram pradignyam vasan Bhuyo marshida एकयात्मजगणैः ताते हते रेणुकम् आज्ञानं हृदयं निरीक्ष्य बहुशो घोरां प्रतिज्ञां भगन् ध्यान आनीतरत आयुधत्वमकुता विवृद्रुगक्षत्रियान् दिक्चक्रेषु कुडारयन् विशिकयन् निक्षत्रियां मेदिनी क्षत्रियान् दिक्चक्रेषु कुडारयन् विशिकयन् निक्षत्रियां मेदिनी मेदिनी भूयोमर्षित हेहयात्मजगणैः ताते हते रेणुकाम् आज्ञानां हृदयं निरीक्ष्य बहुशो घोरां प्रतिज्ञां वहन् ध्यान आनीतरत आयुधत्वम् अकृता विप्रदृगः क्षत्रियान् दिक्चक्रेषु कुडारयन् विशिकयन् निक्षत्रियां मेदिनीम्. Kartamiriya's sons who had run away from the battlefield became furious at their father's death. In your absence, they went to the hermitage and killed your father, sage Damatagni. Struck by the grief of her husband's death, your mother Renuka cried violently, beating her chest 21 times and plaintively calling out for you. Hearing her sobbing and crying, you ran from the battleground to the forest and saw what had happened. Utterly confounded by an outburst of agony, anger, indignation, and affliction, O Parasurama, you made up your mind to extirpate the entire Kshatriya race. The total annihilation of the haughty Kshatriya race was the only thing that was in your mind at that time. You killed the Kshatriyas who had become enemies of Brahmanas using your skodari or battle axe and arrows in all places. In the next sloka, namely the sloka number 10, Bhattatiri describes the wonderful acts of Parasurama in the process. Tato jivana kritrupalaka kulam Tato jivana kritrupalaka kulam Trishabda kritvo jayanne Santarpyata samanta panchaka Maharata gridyo he pitran Yagyekshmamabi kashyapadi shudishan Salvena yudhyam punaga Krishnan Niganishyati shamido Yuddhat kumarir bhavan Yuddhat kumarir bhavan Tato jivanakriti nrupalakakulam Trisapta krutvo jayan Santapyata samanta panchaka maharakta Hrudauge pitrun Yagnekshmamapi kashyapadi dishan Salvena yudhyan punaha Krishnomum nihanishyati iti shamito Yuddhat kumarair bhavan. Later you revived your father by your yogic powers after joining the head to the trunk of the body. In order to fulfill your awesome oath, you rid the earth of Kshatriyas 21 times because your mother beat her chest 21 times and did the curse. You finally rid the earth of Kshatriyas with their blood. You made 9 pits in the holy place called Shamanta Panchakam and satiated the mains of your lineage, and those 9 pits were holding the blood of all Kshatriyas you killed. At this stage of incarnations of Brahman, even though the significant avataras of Rama, Balarama, Krishna are yet to occasion, and 2 major long yugas are yet to complete, it will be pertinent to go to Srimad Bhagavatam when Parikshit asks questions on this avatara, significantly relevant as to today. And Sukha answers with some sadness regarding the deterioration that occurred and would continue to occur in society when the rulers in power simply become plunderers. Let us take a deep breath here and look at what Shuka said to Parikshit. Chiyamaneshu degeshu dehinam kalidoshatah varnasramavatam dharme natte vedapate nrinam pashan प्रचुरे धर्मे दस्यु प्रायेषु राजसु चौर्यानृतभृता हिंसा नानावृत्तिषु वैन्द्रुषु शूद्रप्रायेषु वर्णे पुच्छागप्रयासु धेनुषु गृहप्रायेषु आश्रमेषु यौनप्रायेषु बन्धुषु अनुप्रायास्पोषदीषु चमीप्रायेषु स्ताश्नुषु विद्युत्प्रायेषु मेघेषु शून्यप्रायेषु सद्मसु इतौ कलौ गतप्राये जनेषु करधर्मिषु धर्मत्राणाय सत्त्वेन भगवान् अवतरिष्यति। इत्थं कलौ गतप्राये जनेषु करधर्मिषु धर्मत्राणाय सत्त्वेन भगवान् अवतरिष्यति। The last few months have been extraordinarily tortuous, leaving citizens of this country to grapple with a profound sense of helplessness, if not utter hopelessness, in the historic annals of this nation. We are witnessing an era where the laws are routinely flouted, violated, and twisted, actions that have sent deep shudders vibrating through the hearts of those who really care, echoing across all four corners of this land. Such unprecedented hopelessness is bound to kindle a fierce, if not burning rage. But in this hour of darkness, let us not forget the great men and women who both within recent decades and over the sleeping course of centuries have cautioned humanity against the perils of uncontrollable rage, warning us that it inevitably results in a chaos far greater than the original cause itself. Therefore, please consider the wisdom of those titans who discussed such situations in the past. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Supreme Court Justice, wisely counseled, "Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." And she further reminded us, don't be distracted by emotions like anger, envy, and resentment. These just zap energy and waste time. We cannot forget the immortal words of Maya Angelou. She said, "You should be angry, you must not be bitter." So use that anger. As Bharati said, Raudram Palagu. You write down your anger. You paint your anger. You dance with that anger. You march with that anger in your heart. When you combine all of them, you vote with your anger inside. You do everything about it. You talk about it, talk through it, never stop talking or about it with others. But do not espouse violence. In fact, eschew violence. Lucius Seneca, the great first-century philosopher who offered a timeless remedy, said, "The greatest remedy for visceral rage is delay." George Nathan, Golda Meir, and Indira Gandhi, they all captured the exact vital sentiments in slightly different words. They said something to this effect: clenched fists cannot hold a pen or a phone to record evidence. Remember this. And finally, the oft-repeated truth of Mahatma Gandhi, who urged us to act through proper channels so that the lawbreaker remains the sole wrongdoer. And remember that always, especially at this need of the hour. Sukha takes a deep breath to answer the profound question from Parikshit. Why annihilate 21 generations of Kshatriyas? The following answers of Sukha describing the rationale and more about Kali Yuga are far more relevant here. That's why before concluding this session, I wanted to highlight on this part. Druptam kshatram bhuvo param abramanya manina shat rajastamo vritamahan palgunyapi krite amhasi. When the rulers, being excessively proud because of the material modes of passion and ignorance, become irreligious and cease to care for the laws enacted already for human civilization, Parasurama rose up to kill them. Although their offense was not very severe, not killed one generation, 21 generations, to lessen the burden of the world so that it will be a lesson for future generations of Kshatriyas. This is how Sukha Brahman says to Parikshit. In Kali Yuga, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam again, Dasya Prayeshu Rajasu. The ruling class will be no better than plunderers because the third class and fourth class men will monopolize the affairs of the government. I didn't say this. This is in Canto 12, Chapter 2, the 13th sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. The very Sukha tells Parikshit, Dasya Prayeshu Rajasu. Only the lousy third class and fourth class will come to monopolize the affairs of the government. Ignoring the law and dharmic rules and regulations, they will certainly try to plunder the wealth of the ordinary citizens without consideration, justification, or law by any means that are available to them. The only thing that is going to make it more and more is the passive stupidity of the common folk who cannot even understand what is going on. Chiyamaneshu deheshu dehinam kalidoshatah varnashramavatam dharme nate vedapate nranam pashanda prashure dharme dasya prayeshu rajasu chauryanrita vrita himsa nana vrittishu vai nrishu shudra prayeshu varne puchchaha prayasu dhenushu griha prayeshu ashrameshu yauna prayeshu bandhushu Anuprayeshu oshadishu, shami prayeshu stasnushu, vidyut prayeshu megheshu, sunya prayeshu sadmasu, ittam kalau gata praye, janeshu karadharmishu, dharma tranaya satvena, Bhagavan avatarishyati. By Kali, principles of Varnashrama will be ruined. The path of the Vedas will be completely forgotten in human society, and so-called religion will be mostly atheistic. The rulers will mostly be thieves. The occupations of men will be stealing, lying, and needless violence. And all their social classes will be reduced to the lowest level of Shudras. Remember my definition earlier about Shudras. At birth, everybody is a Shudra unless they are going to be enlightened and go to the next steps in Varnashrama. What happens is social classes will be reduced to the abject, ignorant level of Shudras. Cows will be like goats. Spiritual places will be no different from mundane houses. And family ties will extend to no further than the immediate bonds of marriage. Most plants and herbs will be tiny, and all trees will appear like dwarf Sami trees. Clouds will be full of lightning. Homes will be devoid of piety. All human beings would have become like asses. At that time, the Supreme Brahman will appear on the earth, acting with the power of pure spiritual goodness. That Brahman will rescue eternal religion, even if it means pralaya. Tribala godvijagnasya paradaradhanadritaha udita tamita praya alpasatvalpakayushaha asamskrita kriyahina rajasa tamasa vritaha prajate bhakshayishyanti lecharajanyarupinaha prajate bhakshayishyanti lecharajanyarupinaha. Sribala godvijagnascha paradharadhanadritaha uditas tamita praya alpasatva alpakayushakaha asamskritaha kriyahina rajasa tamasa vritaha prajaste bhakshayishyanti mlecha rajanyarupinaha. After that, to get rid of the sins of killing the Kshatriyas, Bhagavane, Parasurama, you conducted a grand sacrifice in which all the earth was given away to Kashyapa and all other priests who conducted sacrifices. Again, you started a battle with the king of Salva, who was the chief among the left out Kshatriyas. Then the Sanaka sages appeared in front of you and said, Bhagavane, do not forget your Brahman. Those Sanaka sages pleaded to you. You will incarnate with full power in Dwapara Yuga as Sri Krishna, the Purna Parabrahman. And at that time you will kill Salva. But please leave Salva now. Do not annihilate Kshatriyas. Because there is a purpose with which we are making this request to you. Hearing this plea from the Sanaka sages, O Parasurama, you withdrew from the battle. The battle with Salva is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the last shloka of the Dasakam, Bhattatiri tells us about the reclamation of Kerala from the sea, and this is very important. Nyasya astrani mahendra bhubhrudi tapaha tanval punarmajjitaya gokarna avadi sagarena dharanim drishtva artitaha tapasaihi Nyastastrani mahendra bhubhrudi tapas tanval punarmajjitam gokarnavadi sagarena dharanim drishtva artitattapasaihi Dhyata hishvasadhrita analalatrachajitam sindhu shuvakshepanat uttarya udruta keralo brugupate vadesa samrakshamayam Dhyata hishvasadhrita analalatrachajitam sindhu shuvakshepanat uttarya udruta keralo brugupate vadesa samrakshamam vadesa samrakshamam Nyasya asrani mahendra bhubhruti tapaha tanvan punarmajjitam gokarna avadhi sagarena dharanim drishtva artitaha tapasaihi dhyata ishvasadhrita anala astra chakitam sindham shuva shepanati utsarya udruta keralo brugupate vadesa samrakshamam. Thereafter, as advised by the Sanakas, you withdrew from all forms of violence and stopped killing of Kshatriyas. Abandoning all weapons, you went to the Mahendra mountains to perform penance. Later, while you are engaged in your austerities, the sea engulfs the land from Kanyakumari to Gokarna. Grieved at this, the hermits approached you to regain that land from the waters. As requested by them, you brought forth the Agneya Astra by meditation and were about to release the same in order to dry up the sea. The Samudra Raja came running to you, frightened at this, and as permitted by him, you threw your oblation ladle from Gokarna, which fell at Kanyakumari. The sea vacated that place from Gokarna to Kanyakumari, and thus the land known at present as Kerala became the reclaimed land. The story of Parasurama ends in Srimad Bhagavatam with the final slokam. Aste adhyapi mahendradrau nestadanda prashandadihi upagiyamana charitaha siddha gandharva charanaihi. Lord Parasurama still lives as an intelligent Brahmana in the mountainous country known as Mahendra. Completely satisfied, having given up all the weapons of Kshatriya, he is always worshipped, adored and offered prayers for his exalted character and activities by such celestial beings as the Siddhas, Charanas and Gandharvas. No mention of origin of Kerala is seen in Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is there in Brahmanda Purana, however. Being a Keralite, it is but natural that Bhattatiri could not end the story of Parasurama without highlighting the origin of Kerala picked from Brahmanda Purana. Thus, certain episodes from Brahmanda Puranam have also been appropriately blended in Narayaneeyam by the author to re-emphasize his point. You who reclaim Kerala from the sea do have a special affection for this land and its people. O GuruBhakti, please exterminate my diseases which constantly trouble me and revive my health so that I can continue to worship you and for nothing else. That alone will raise me from the deep and shoreless sea of abyss or sorrow. Kindly bless me by taking me to your lotus feet, the abode of perennial bliss. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. Hare Krishna Guruvayurappa. Narayana 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 Hare Krishna Guruvayurappa Hare Krishna Guruvayurappa